Some people are very good at looking clean in front of the world. They know how to smile after breaking someone. They know how to speak softly after lying. They know how to act innocent after planting pain in a chest. And the funny thing is, people believe them. Because people see faces, they hear stories, they clap for the one who cries first. But God does not need your explanation. He saw when they changed the truth. He saw the message they deleted. He saw the promise they made while planning betrayal. He saw what happened when nobody was there. So do not panic when they fool the crowd. Do not lose yourself trying to prove what God already witnessed. Let them enjoy the applause. Let them wear the mask. Let them collect sympathy from people who heard half the story. Because life has a quiet way of returning things. Not always today, not always how you imagine, but every seed has a season. Every hidden action has a witness. What they did to you will not disappear just because they slept peacefully. A person can escape your words, they can escape your proof, they can escape your tears, but they cannot escape the one who saw everything. So stay calm, not weak, calm, not blind, calm, not defeated, calm. Because sometimes the strongest revenge is not chasing them. It is watching truth walk slowly, without missing one address. And when it returns with perfect weight, slowly. And you know what hurts the most? It is not the betrayal itself. It is watching someone hurt you, then sleep peacefully like nothing happened. That part changes people. Because the mind starts asking dangerous questions. Did they ever care? Was I blind? Was all of it fake? And sometimes, the answer is worse than the pain. Some people never loved your soul. They loved your patience. They loved your forgiveness. They loved the fact that you stayed soft while they stayed selfish. You were not a person to them. You were comfort, access, attention, a safe place to empty their darkness while pretending to care about yours. And when you finally break, they suddenly act confused. Ah, yes. Now they do not understand why you became distant, why your eyes changed, why your voice sounds tired, as if pain appears from nowhere, as if hearts collapse for fun. No. People become cold after surviving things they should have never experienced. That is why silence becomes heavy after betrayal. Because the soul is trying to understand how somebody looked into your heart and still chose to wound it. But listen carefully. Do not let injustice make you worship revenge. Do not become obsessed with destroying people who already destroyed themselves inside. Because God sees deeper than emotions. He sees intention. And intention is terrifying. A person can fake kindness, fake sadness, fake innocence, fake loyalty, but intention always leaves fingerprints on the soul. And eventually life starts exposing them without your help. Suddenly people notice patterns. Suddenly masks slip. Suddenly the same manipulation stops working. Because lies need constant maintenance. Truth does not. So stop exhausting yourself trying to wake everyone up. Some people will defend evil simply because evil smiled politely at them. Let God handle what human eyes failed to notice. Because no tear disappears. No silent suffering disappears. No hidden cruelty disappears. Everything waits. And one day, everything answers. And when the answer finally comes, it rarely arrives with noise. Not thunder, not drama, not some cinematic punishment people imagine in their heads. No, sometimes it arrives quietly. A loss they cannot explain. A heaviness in their chest at night. People leaving them for the exact same reasons they once laughed at you for crying about. Funny, isn't it? The same disrespect they normalized suddenly becomes unbearable when it enters their own life. The same loneliness they gave somebody else suddenly feels like torture when they taste it themselves. That is why wise people stop begging for revenge. Life already remembers addresses, and God never loses track of details. Not the trembling voice you hid, not the humiliation you swallowed in silence, not the nights you blamed yourself because somebody else's cruelty confused your heart. He saw all of it, even the things you never spoke about, especially those things. You know, some people think they escaped because nothing happened immediately. That is the dangerous part. Delay makes arrogant people feel untouchable. They start believing their lies are truth. Their manipulation becomes habit. Their cruelty becomes personality. And slowly, their own soul begins rotting while they keep smiling outside. Because every action leaves something behind. Peace or poison. And no human can poison others forever without drinking from it eventually. So if you are hurting right now, if you are sitting alone questioning your worth because somebody betrayed your trust, listen carefully. Do not measure justice by timing. Some lessons arrive late because they arrive complete. The person who mocked loyalty may spend years surrounded by fake people. The person who played with hearts may eventually beg for real love and never find stability. The person who enjoyed humiliating others may one day feel invisible in a room full of people. And the terrifying part? They will remember. Deep inside, they will remember exactly what they once did to someone else. Because the soul keeps records, even when the mouth denies them. So heal. Do not chase every explanation. Do not destroy your peace trying to force blind people to see truth. God saw. God knows. And what is written for every soul will arrive with perfect precision. Sometimes the punishment is not what happens around a person. It is what starts happening inside them. Because not every broken soul looks broken from the outside. Some people continue smiling while slowly losing the ability to feel peace. And that is terrifying. To eat without satisfaction, to laugh without joy, to sit with people and still feel empty, to keep chasing noise because silence reminds you of what you became. Many people think consequences only mean losing money, status, relationships. No, Sometimes the real consequence is becoming the kind of person who cannot rest anymore. A mind full of hidden guilt becomes a prison eventually, even if nobody sees it. That is why some people keep distracting themselves constantly, always scrolling, always talking, always running toward attention, always needing noise, because silence starts speaking when lies become too heavy. And deep down, they know. They remember who they betrayed to protect their ego. They remember who cried because of them. They remember the messages they ignored while pretending to be innocent later. Human beings can bury memories, but souls do not forget truth. And God does not forget the version of you nobody else met. Not the public version, the real one, the hidden one, the one that appeared when nobody was watching. That is why you should never envy people who hurt others and seem comfortable after. You are only seeing the costume, not the war inside their chest. Because peace is not fake smiling. Peace is sleeping without replaying your own cruelty at night. Peace is not needing to manipulate reality to survive your conscience. Some people lose that forever. So protect your heart carefully. Do not become proud of causing pain. Do not become addicted to revenge. Do not celebrate making others suffer. The soul learns from repetition, and eventually people become the very darkness they once hated. That is the irony of this world. The wounded sometimes become monsters, not because pain forced them, but because ego felt powerful hurting back. Stay human, even when betrayed. Stay honest, even when lied to. Stay clean, even when surrounded by poison. Because at the end of everything, reputation means nothing before God. Masks mean nothing. Excuses mean nothing. Only truth remains. Only truth. You know what scares dishonest people the most? Not exposure, not arguments, not even revenge. It is meeting someone they failed to destroy. Because they expected pain to finish you. They expected betrayal to make you bitter forever, weak forever, confused forever. And when they see you still breathing, still standing, still calm, something inside them starts shaking. Because your survival becomes evidence. Evidence that their lies were not strong enough. Evidence that God protected something inside you they could not reach. That is why some people become obsessed with watching the person they hurt. Quietly checking, quietly listening, quietly wondering if you finally collapsed. Not because they care. Because guilt mixed with pride creates a strange kind of paranoia. They want to believe you deserved it. They need to believe you were the problem. Because accepting the truth would force them to face themselves. And many people would rather destroy 10 innocent hearts than sit alone with their own conscience for one night. That is how dangerous ego becomes when morality dies. A person starts rewriting history inside their own head. Your patience becomes weakness. Your kindness becomes stupidity. Your silence becomes guilt. And their betrayal? Somehow that becomes justified. But God sees beyond edited stories. He sees motive. He sees envy hidden behind smiles, competition hidden behind friendship, cruelty hidden behind jokes. And some of the most terrifying people are not loud enemies. They are quiet pretenders. People who hug you while secretly enjoying your suffering. People who advise you while hoping you fail. People who act concerned while studying your wounds like entertainment. Be careful around souls that smile too perfectly during your pain. Those people are not confused. They are revealed. Still, do not waste your life becoming obsessed with who betrayed you, because darkness can become addictive. At first, you only want justice. Then you want answers. Then you want them to suffer exactly the way you suffered. And slowly, without noticing, your peace begins depending on another person's downfall. That is poison. Do not drink poison while waiting for somebody else to die from it. Some people are already being punished by becoming who they became. Imagine waking up every day needing lies to maintain your image. Imagine needing manipulation just to feel powerful. Imagine never knowing if somebody truly loves you because you built your entire life on performance. That is not freedom. That is spiritual exhaustion wearing expensive clothes. And eventually, masks grow heavy. Everyone gets tired, even manipulators, even narcissists, even people who think they escaped consequences forever. Because truth is patient, terrifyingly patient. It waits years if necessary, and when it finally arrives, it does not ask for permission. So if your heart is tired tonight, if betrayal changed the way you see people, if pain made you colder than before, listen carefully. Do not lose faith in goodness because somebody abused yours. Not everybody is fake. Not everybody enjoys hurting others. Not everybody smiles while hiding poison. And most importantly, God did not ignore your pain. Silence is not absence. Delay is not neglect. And just because people clapped for the wrong person does not mean heaven was deceived too. One day, everything hidden will breathe in the light. Everything. And maybe that is why betrayal changes the way a person looks at the world. Not because the pain was temporary, but because something sacred inside them was touched carelessly. Trust. People underestimate what trust really is. It is not just believing words. It is placing your inner world into someone's hands and hoping they do not crush it for convenience. And when they do, when they smile while betraying you, when they look calm while you are mentally collapsing, something deep inside the human soul starts becoming distant. That is why some wounded people stop laughing the same way, stop speaking the same way, stop opening their heart the same way. Not because they became evil, because they finally learned how dangerous people can be when morality disappears behind desire. Some humans will destroy peace just to protect their ego. Some will lie simply because truth embarrasses them. Some will watch you drowning emotionally and still ask why you changed afterward. As if pain should leave you untouched. As if betrayal should make you brighter. No. Pain leaves fingerprints on the spirit. But listen carefully. Do not let pain convince you that God abandoned justice. Human timing is impatient. Divine timing is precise. You want immediate answers. immediate exposure, immediate consequences. But sometimes God allows people to continue because hidden things must fully reveal themselves first. A dishonest soul eventually exposes itself without realizing it. Arrogance becomes visible. Patterns repeat. Masks crack. The same manipulation reaches new victims, and slowly, people begin noticing the darkness they once defended. Because falsehood can impress crowds temporarily, but it cannot sustain itself forever. Truth breathes differently. Truth stays steady without performance. Truth does not panic when questioned. Lies do. That is why manipulative people become angry when calm truth enters the room. Because calm truth destroys illusion without screaming. And illusion is all some people have. Without manipulation, they feel powerless. Without attention, they feel invisible. Without control, they feel terrified. So they create confusion around others to avoid facing confusion inside themselves. And many innocent hearts suffer because wounded egos refuse accountability. Still, do not carry hatred forever. Hatred is heavy. It chains the soul to the very people who damaged it. Forgiveness does not always mean reconnecting. It does not mean trusting blindly again. It does not mean pretending nothing happened. No. Sometimes forgiveness simply means refusing to poison your own heart any longer. You release the obsession. You stop replaying the betrayal every night. You stop asking why cruel people acted cruel. Because darkness explains itself eventually. And maybe the hardest truth of all is realizing some people knew exactly how much they were hurting you and continued anyway. That realization can break a person for a while, but it can also awaken them. Awaken boundaries. Awaken self-respect. Awaken emotional discipline. Sometimes pain removes illusions your comfort would have protected forever. And that hurts, but it also saves you. Imagine spending your entire life loyal to people who secretly celebrate your suffering. Imagine never discovering the envy behind the smiles. Imagine dying without seeing the truth. No. Exposure is painful, but blindness is worse. So thank God for the uncomfortable revelations. Thank God for the distance. Thank God for the silence that exposed fake loyalty. Because not every loss is destruction. Sometimes separation is protection wearing dark clothes. And one day, you will stop crying over certain people. Not because what they did became acceptable, but because your soul finally understood their absence is healthier than their presence ever was. And when that day comes, peace returns quietly, not loudly, quietly. Like morning light entering a room that survived a long night. And after everything, after the lies, after the confusion, after the nights where your chest felt too heavy to carry alone, you begin understanding something most people never learn. Not everyone loses you the moment you leave. Some people lose you the moment they stop respecting your heart. That is where real endings begin. Not distance, not silence, disrespect. Because a soul can survive arguments. A soul can survive mistakes. A soul can survive difficult seasons. But repeated disrespect slowly kills emotional safety. And once safety dies, love begins suffocating quietly. Funny how some people destroy beautiful things while thinking they are winning. They lie and feel clever, manipulate and feel powerful, ignore your pain and call it strength. But emotional destruction always leaves ruins somewhere, even inside the destroyer. Especially inside the destroyer. Because every cruel action teaches the soul something dangerous. It trains numbness. It trains selfishness. It trains the ability to disconnect from guilt. And humans were not created to carry darkness endlessly without consequences. Sooner or later, it leaks into relationships, into sleep, into anxiety, into emptiness they cannot explain to anyone. That is why some people have everything externally: money, attention, beauty, status, yet still feel restless every night. Because inner peace is not purchased. It is built through truth, through clean intention, through not destroying innocent people for temporary ego satisfaction. And many souls trade peace for pride without realizing the price until years later. Ego always sends the bill late. Very late. You know what else people misunderstand? Healing. They think healing means forgetting. No. Real healing means remembering without emotionally bleeding the same way anymore. The memory stays, but it no longer controls your breathing, no longer destroys your sleep, no longer makes you question your worth every night. That is when God begins rebuilding parts of you, pain almost erased, confidence, clarity, discernment, emotional discipline. And strangely, some betrayals become blessings later. Not because betrayal was good, because it forced growth. Comfort would have delayed forever. Some people only discovered their value after being treated like they had none. Some people only learned boundaries after giving too much. Some people only found God deeply after human beings disappointed them completely. Pain has a terrible way of removing illusions. But maybe illusions were blocking your vision all along. And maybe, just maybe, the reason certain people disappeared from your life was because God heard conversations you never heard, saw intentions you never saw, protected you from futures your emotions would have walked into blindly. Think about that carefully. Sometimes rejection is mercy wearing the face of loss. Sometimes separation saves your soul before your feelings understand why. But humans are emotional creatures. We beg for things that secretly destroy us. We cry over doors heaven closed for protection. We chase people who would have shattered our peace completely if they stayed longer. And later, much later, clarity arrives quietly. You finally see the manipulation, the hidden jealousy, the emotional games, the imbalance, the exhaustion. And you sit there wondering why you begged so hard to keep something that was slowly killing your spirit. That is why patience matters during heartbreak. Because emotions speak loudly at first, but truth speaks slowly. And once truth fully arrives, you stop romanticizing what damaged you. You stop worshiping people who only loved your usefulness. You stop blaming yourself for somebody else's lack of conscience. And the most beautiful part? You begin becoming emotionally free again. Not cold, free. Free from needing their apology. Free from needing their validation. Free from needing the world to finally understand your side. Because God understood from the beginning. And honestly, that is enough. And once you truly understand that, something inside you begins calming down. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, not because people magically become honest, but because you stop expecting human beings to carry the weight only God can carry perfectly. Humans misunderstand. Humans assume. Humans judge based on performance, emotions, timing, appearance. That is why fake people survive so long sometimes. They study reactions better than morals. Some people know exactly how to sound innocent, exactly how to cry at the right moment, exactly how to twist a story without technically lying completely. And weak minds follow confidence more than truth. But confidence is not evidence. A calm liar is still a liar. A smiling manipulator is still dangerous. A soft voice can still carry poison. Never forget that. Because many good people destroy themselves trying to understand why evil looked convincing. Evil often rehearses. Truth usually arrives exhausted. That is why wounded, honest people sometimes sound emotional, while dishonest people sound composed. One side is carrying pain. The other side is managing an image. Big difference. Huge difference. And maybe that is why God tells people not to become arrogant with appearances. Because appearances can hypnotize crowds, while souls silently decay underneath. You never truly know what exists inside someone until power, temptation, jealousy, or opportunity enters the room. That is where hidden character begins speaking. Some people remain kind only while life is convenient. Some remain loyal only while emotions benefit them. Some remain honest only while truth costs them nothing. But real character appears when darkness becomes profitable, when betrayal becomes easy, when lying becomes useful, when nobody is watching. That is where souls expose themselves. And honestly, many people fail that test, terribly. Still, do not let that make you hopeless. Do not become one of those cold souls who believes everybody is fake. That mindset slowly destroys the ability to love sincerely. Yes, be careful. Yes, learn patterns. Yes, protect your peace. But do not let betrayal turn your heart into a prison. Because darkness spreads through imitation. A liar hurts you. Then you become emotionally manipulative with innocent people. A cruel person wounds you. then you normalize cruelty to avoid vulnerability. A selfish person breaks your trust, then you stop caring who suffers around you. And slowly the infection continues. One damaged soul creating another, another creating another. That is how emotional darkness travels through generations, through families, through relationships, through friendships. Someone hurts a person deeply, and instead of healing properly, they bleed on everyone afterward. Do not become that person, please. The world already has enough wounded egos pretending to be strong. Enough people confusing numbness with wisdom. Enough souls acting heartless because they are terrified of feeling pain again. Real strength is different. Real strength is remaining disciplined after betrayal, remaining honest after deception, remaining merciful without becoming naive, remaining clean in a dirty environment. That kind of strength is rare now, extremely rare. And God sees those silent battles nobody applauds. The battle to stay respectful while angry. The battle to avoid revenge when revenge feels satisfying. The battle to remain pure while surrounded by corruption. People only notice external wars. God notices internal ones too. And internal wars shape destiny far more than public image ever will. So if your heart feels tired, rest. Heal slowly. Disappear if necessary. But do not abandon your soul just because somebody else abandoned their morality first. Because one day, every hidden intention, every secret cruelty, every silent tear, every betrayal, every act of patience will stand completely exposed before God. And on that day, truth will not need defending anymore. You know what is strange? Some of the people who hurt others the most are deeply terrified of being hurt themselves. Think about that carefully. A manipulator fears manipulation. A liar fears betrayal. A selfish heart fears abandonment. Because deep down, people recognize the poison they carry. That is why some dishonest people become paranoid, always suspicious, always checking, always doubting loyalty, always afraid someone will do to them what they secretly do to others. The guilty mind lives differently, and no amount of fake confidence fully removes that fear. You can hear it sometimes, behind the laughter, behind the arrogance, behind the endless need for validation. Some souls are loud because silence scares them, because silence forces self-confrontation. And self-confrontation is brutal when your conscience carries hidden faces, hidden tears, hidden betrayals, hidden damage you caused and pretended not to notice. That is why emotionally clean people sleep differently. Not perfectly, not without pain, but differently. They do not need 10 lies to protect one story. They do not need fake personalities for different rooms. They do not panic every time truth gets close. Honesty brings a strange kind of internal stability, even during suffering. And maybe that is why some wounded good people still look peaceful despite everything they survived. Because pain entered their life, but corruption never fully entered their soul. Never underestimate that. A person surviving betrayal without becoming evil is a miracle now. Especially in a world teaching people to respond to cruelty with greater cruelty. Hurt them back, embarrass them back, manipulate them back, destroy them back. And yes, the ego loves those ideas. The ego fantasizes about emotional revenge every night sometimes, but revenge rarely heals wounded souls. Usually it only spreads the wound into new places. That is why some people get revenge and still feel empty afterward, because pain was never solved, only redirected. Healing requires something harder than revenge: discipline, emotional discipline, spiritual discipline, the discipline to suffer without becoming poisonous. And honestly, most people fail there. They let bitterness rewrite their personality completely. The soft person becomes emotionally unavailable. The trusting person becomes paranoid. The loving person becomes cold. The patient person becomes explosive. Pain transforms people, that is real. But transformation can move upward or downward, toward wisdom or toward darkness. Choose carefully who pain turns you into, because eventually suffering ends, but the personality created during suffering can remain forever. Some people survive heartbreak physically, while their soul never fully opens again after. Not because love disappeared from the world, because fear took control quietly. Fear of betrayal, fear of humiliation, fear of emotional exposure, fear of giving loyalty to the wrong soul again. And maybe you understand that feeling. Maybe someone broke your trust so deeply that now even peace feels suspicious. Maybe kindness feels dangerous now. Maybe your mind searches for hidden motives in every smile. That happens when pain enters without proper healing. The nervous system stays prepared for war even after the battlefield disappears. But listen carefully. Not every person who enters your life is sent to destroy you, and not every ending was punishment. Some endings were rescue missions your emotions misunderstood. God removes people for reasons pride cannot always understand immediately. Sometimes he exposes betrayal early to prevent deeper destruction later. Sometimes he lets masks fall while your attachment is still survivable. Imagine discovering certain truths after marriage, after children, after years, after complete emotional dependence. Mercy does not always arrive softly. Sometimes mercy arrives through heartbreak, through disappointment, through separation, through painful clarity. And humans cry while heaven protects them. Strange world. And sometimes, the answer to that question changes everything. Because you slowly realize certain people were not removing peace from your life accidentally. They were feeding on your emotional exhaustion. Some people feel powerful when you are confused. They feel important when you are chasing explanations. They feel valuable when you are emotionally dependent on their attention. That is why they give affection, then distance, warmth, then coldness, presence, then silence. Confusion creates attachment in wounded hearts, and manipulative people understand that better than most. They study reactions carefully, not emotions, reactions. They watch what makes you stay, what makes you apologize, what makes you doubt yourself, what makes you tolerate disrespect longer than you should. And once they learn your emotional patterns, they begin pulling invisible strings. That is why spiritual awareness matters. Because not every smiling person has clean intentions. Not every apology carries remorse. Not every connection is healthy simply because emotions feel intense. Intensity can come from trauma, too. From fear, from emotional instability, from attachment wounds disguised as love. People confuse obsession with connection all the time. Real peace feels different. Real love does not constantly destroy your nervous system. Real care does not repeatedly humiliate your soul. Real loyalty does not enjoy your confusion. And yes, human beings make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. But repeated emotional destruction is not a mistake anymore. It becomes character. That truth hurts many people, because accepting it means admitting somebody understood your pain and continued anyway. That realization can feel like grief. Not grief over losing a person, grief over losing the illusion you created about them. And illusions are hard to bury, especially when your heart invested deeply into them. But once the illusion dies, clarity finally breathes. You stop romanticizing disrespect. You stop begging for crumbs. You stop confusing emotional chaos with passion. And slowly, your soul starts returning to itself, quietly, like somebody coming home after surviving a long war. That is when healing truly begins. Not when they apologize, not when they regret losing you, not when God returns what they gave. No. Healing begins when your peace no longer depends on their behavior. That is freedom. Dangerous freedom. Beautiful freedom. Because now, your emotional state belongs to God and yourself again, not to unstable people playing games with your heart. And honestly, some people never expected you to reach that stage. They expected permanent access to your emotions, permanent control, permanent influence. But healing breaks invisible chains. And once a soul fully wakes up, manipulation stops feeling powerful. It starts feeling pathetic.